January 1947, a mother named Phoebe received a phone call that her daughter Elizabeth had won a beauty contest in Los Angeles. The reporter wanted any and all information about Elizabeth for this article, and Phoebe talked about her beautiful daughter, her desire to be a star, her move to follow her dreams. After all of this, the reporter then told Phoebe Elizabeth's lifeless body had been found brutally murdered. Elizabeth Short moved to Los Angeles, California with the dreams to become a household name, and that became a reality after her death when immediately, years after, and even today, Elizabeth Short's murder is one of the most known unsolved cases there has ever been. And today, we will be getting into who Elizabeth was, what we know about her life, and the details of her horrific, mind-blowing murder, and why she is known as the Black Dahlia. Welcome to Like Mother, Like Murder. I am Rachel.
And I'm Heather.
We bring you the good,
The badass.
and the crime.
This is Like Mother, Like Murder.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Like Mother, Like Murder.
Hi, what's up, everyone? I'm Joel.
Negative, you guys. Today is our Halloween episode for you guys, and I'm so happy to be back with Heather on the microphone. I missed her last week, and I'm sure you guys did as well. I need you here, Heather.
Okay, I am so happy to be back, but also Joel is absolutely hilarious on the mic,
Yes.
and listening to the two of you, I was cracking up. So I feel like Joel should be able to fill in for me anytime if I have to do the travel again and I can't make it to a recording. Let's throw Joel in there because it was hilarious.
I agree. I hope that the listeners feel the same way, though. But on that note, I did want to give a shout out to the listeners, all of the OG listeners, and anyone who's new here. Welcome, you guys. We're so happy to have you guys as a longtime friend of the pod, like if you've been here since the beginning, or if you're just checking it out for the first time. And if it is your first ever episode, hello, I am Rachel.
And I'm Heather. And we are the hosts of Like Mother, Like Murder.
Yes, we are. We start with some light banter in the beginning. That's what we do. Life check-ins, what's happening in the world, that kind of stuff in our world. If you guys are someone who does not like the banter, that's totally okay. Maybe we're not for you, and that's fine. You guys can go to the show notes. You could go to chapters. You click the title of the case, and that takes you directly to where we dive into the case for that day.
If you do love the little chitty chat at the beginning, good. So do we. And we love that for us and for you. So we're going to start our chitty chats because that's how we start.
Yes. Yes, it is. Okay. So with Halloween season, Heather, it's here. Oh, I say it's approaching. It's here. We're in it. It's spooky season. Tell me all of the things.
I got super, super excited yesterday because it was the first day after coming back from travel, after spending the first couple days cleaning the house and trying to get things all back in order. I was actually able to put out some Halloween decorations. And
Yes.
I actually went to Target and they had a bunch of stuff on clearance because even though we're not even at Halloween yet, people are apparently over Halloween decorations and all about Christmas already. So there was a bunch of Halloween decorations on clearance. And I got some extra stuff and it was really exciting. So I'm super excited. And then tomorrow, my daughter's school is doing a trunk or treat. And we've never actually been to one before. I know you've actually decorated.
Yeah, we participate in the trunk or treats.
Yeah, so I'm excited. That should be pretty fun. So I'm getting there. I'm getting into that Halloween spirit. What about you?
It. Oh, I'm in it. And
You're
as you
there.
said, we've been participating. We've been in it. We did a trunk or treat for one of our local things that my daughter participates in. We have an event tonight. We have an event on Saturday. I'm exhausted. That's all right, though. You know, as soon as this season ends, another one begins, and you just live exhausted. What's
That's
the big
mom
deal?
life right there.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
one exhaustion to the next. I had to explain to my daughter this morning because she was kind of grumpy as we were walking to school, and I had to explain, and I said, what's going on? How are you feeling? And she goes, I'm just tired. And I was like,
Yeah, same.
I get you, girl. I get you. And so what I explained to her is, and it's so funny because it literally made me think about, I'm pretty sure it's Dolly Parton who says, like, start your day with like a grateful heart, where I was like, I understand being tired and I understand that it makes us grumpy and we feel icky. But you know what I like to do when I'm feeling that way? I like to take a drink of water, sit, and just try to think about all the things that make me happy. And at that point, I explained to her, I said, what's going to make me happy? And I explained to her everything we're doing this weekend, from the trunk or treat to a birthday lunch to a quince to soccer pictures, all happening this weekend. And I was like, yeah, so it's going to be a lot of fun, huh? And I'm even more tired than when I started talking about it, but I was trying to be hyped so that she would be in a better mood. Oh, being a mom, it's very full circle.
It's a lot. That is a lot. I love this season, though, and it makes me feel some sort of way, especially, like, being able to do it with the kids,
Yes.
Because, like, I feel like we lived that, but then we also live, like, the teenage where we get to do what we want and go, like, live it, and then I used to host parties, like, at my house for Halloween all the time, and now it's just back, like, full circle back to that, just watching the kids be excited, so
Love it.
I love it. That actually leads me into the next piece of business that I need to address for you guys.
Time.
October 30th, tomorrow, one of our amazing podcast friends, who we adore so freaking much, is going to be going live for her 100th episode. Kadra with Perplexity and Mystery Podcast will be live tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Central Time. If you guys are free, I highly recommend you go and check it out. I'm absolutely going to be there. I am a huge fan of Kadra. Like, it's just on top that I get to call her my friend. That's exciting. I cannot wait. So her information will be in the show notes. But again, it's Perplexity, a mystery podcast. You guys got to be there. Heather, you'll be there.
Oh, I'll be there. I freaking love Kadra.
It's
she does such a good job researching and really like stitching together all the different pieces of a perplexity that has happened. And it's so interesting because a lot of the things she covers are not something that I'd be like, that's interesting. But as soon as she starts talking about it, I go, whoa, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Like she just did this whole one on Coraline and the like antagonist from that movie, who apparently is based on all of this stuff. And like I was like, and I've never even seen the movie. Right? Which Rachel thinks is a problem.
Yeah. Don't watch it like with kids, because I feel like, so it is one of those things where, like, depending, so my daughter loves it and she's watched it for a very long time.
Yeah.
There's moments that are freaking kind of woof.
Yeah, I can imagine, because we actually, so Evie has been watching Nightmare Before Christmas since she was like 2.
Yeah.
Like, she loves it. She calls it the skeleton movie. She goes, I want to watch the skeleton movie. Da 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 da. And so like we started watching it. Again, we always watch it around the season. And my now 2-year-old has been very into it, but Evie is now at an age where she's like, this is scary. Like when the Oogie Boogie Man like is there and like he turns into all his, like, she's like, this is too scary. I don't want to watch this. And so
it's so funny.
I can see how like at a certain point it's like, ooh. And from what Kadra talked about, I was like, ooh, this is a child's movie?
Yeah, I know.
Like,
that
does not sound like I'm scared.
It's a great, great movie. And actually, it's something that we could have covered for Like Mother, Like Murder Halloween spooky season, because it's totally mom-daughter related.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Kadra, what the heck? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, Kadra, you should come on Like Mother, Like Murder. Maybe we'll have her come on and do a little. But you guys should definitely go listen to Perplexity, a mystery podcast. Kadra, like I said, she does an amazing job. Her research is pristine. Her narrative and the way she stitches everything together is amazing. I am, like Rachel said, I am such a fan and just so honored to be like, yeah, I know Kadra. What's up?
Love it so much.
Hey, everybody, this is Kadra from Perplexity, a mystery podcast. And I, first of all, just want to say thank you to Heather and Rachel for even promoting this. This is so nice of you guys. Thank you so, so much. I just wanted to let everybody know that on Wednesday, October 30th at 8 p.m. Central on YouTube Live, I will be doing a live show, ringing in 100 episodes, and also it is the day before Halloween, so we are getting spooky. I will have a true crime episode for you guys that has a witchy element to it, and I'll be interacting with y'all. For those of you who do not know and aren't familiar with my show, I tell perplexing tales every single week. So I cover true crime, but anything mysterious as well. So the paranormal, dark history, UFOs, cults, conspiracies, things of that nature. So if you are wanting a new show to listen to or you want something to do on October 30th, I would love to have you. And thank you again, Rachel and Heather. You guys are amazing. I love you. And yeah, okay, love you. Bye.
All right, Heather, my dear, you got anything else before we get into this?
All I have to say is I'm super duper excited for today. Like super duper excited for me to sit back and listen to you tell me this story.
It's happening.
I'm excited.
All right, let's do it. As I mentioned at the top of the episode, today we will be getting into what the majority of people know as the case of the Black Dahlia. But although that is maybe a common name when hearing about this bizarre murder, we will be saying Elizabeth Short over and over and over because her name needs to be said. She should be remembered by her name for who she was and who she wanted to be before that was taken from her. So, in today's part, we will be learning about Elizabeth Short's background, her life, her story, and then we will be getting into what exactly happened and all of the details surrounding that horrific day. As I do in many of my two-parters, I feel the need to give the victim their voice alone. I can't do much like from my position here as a podcaster, but I can make that decision to separate her voice and her story so she is the main focus during our conversation today. And then in part 2, we will get into the investigation, theories, and much, much more. So I know two-parters are not everyone's favorite. I find it important though. So
They're my
at least
I like them. I like
well, I
the
just mean like
cliffhangers
the
though.
waiting for it, you know?
True.
Like that part's hard. And so, but like I said, like for me though, in my heart, I needed to separate the person who was lost, who was taken, who was murdered from the person who caused this crime. And so we're not going to make you wait very long. 2 days is Halloween, and we will be releasing part 2 on October 31st. Okay. So you can listen to part 2 on Halloween. I need to also offer a trigger warning for what we will be discussing in today's episode. I will be talking about a brutal murder, mutilation, and sexual assault. Listen at your own discretion and make sure to always take care of yourself mentally, emotionally, and physically. And if you're not up for this at this time, we'll see you in another episode. That's fine. Now let's get back into when a beautiful baby girl was born. Elizabeth Short was born July 29th, 1924 in Boston, Massachusetts. She was born to her father, Cleo Alvin Short, and her mother, Phoebe May Sawyer. She was the third of 5 siblings, all girls. She had 2 older sisters, Virginia May and Dorothea, Then there was Elizabeth, and then her two younger sisters, Elnora and Muriel. Growing up, her father was in the Navy and was a sailor, and her mother was a housewife taking care of her and her sisters. It has been said that in the early years, the Shorts were a loving family, and things were good at that time. When Elizabeth was only 5 years old, in 1929, the stock market crashed, and Cleo, the father, the sole provider for this family, lost most of his savings because of this. And the following year, things changed drastically for this family. Cleo's vehicle was found abandoned on the Charleston Bridge, and it was assumed that he had jumped into the river, taking his life. Everything changed for this family. I couldn't imagine the pain from this, right?
Yeah.
For this mother with this sort of loss, and then having to be strong for your 5 daughters,
Yeah.
right? And they're all in a state of grieving at this time.
Right.
The children and this mom. It just truly makes me believe Phoebe Short was a freaking badass.
Oh, for real. Yeah.
I don't
mean,
know.
I can't even imagine, first of all, being a mom to 5 girls in and of itself. That's just a lot. And then to then lose your spouse, lose your partner, and then now you are the sole provider and caretaker for these 5 young girls.
Right.
That's yeah, badass for sure. Superwoman right there.
Agreed. So Phoebe ended up getting a bookkeeping job to make ends meet and be able to provide for her and her daughters through this unexpected change that they suddenly took on. Something that was also happening at this time is that when Elizabeth was younger, she started to have a lot of different health issues. She struggled a lot in the cold of Massachusetts in that climate, having severe asthma attacks and getting bronchitis. Phoebe actually had to end up sending Elizabeth to live with family friends in Florida over the winters
Oh my
to help
gosh.
prevent any other respiratory problems from occurring. It was like 3 winters in a row that Elizabeth had to go and stay with this family friend to get away from it.
Oh,
And
damn.
it wasn't getting better even with that. So when she was 15 years old, Elizabeth had to have lung surgery. With all of this from the thought of her father passing, dealing with these health issues, one of the things that Elizabeth found would help to take her mind off of things and be a sort of escape for her was going to the movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, only my opinion, this is where Elizabeth's love for acting and the thought and desire to be on the screen began. 1942, Elizabeth was 18 years old. At this time in her life, she had dropped out of high school when she was a sophomore. She had bounced around from living in Massachusetts to Florida. I don't want to say she was a full-on like nomad, but she was just someone who was able to kind of bounce around and make the best of whatever situation she was put into.
Mm-hmm.
And when she was 18 years old, another wild thing happened. Elizabeth's mother, Phoebe, received a letter of apology from none other than her presumed deceased husband. Your face.
Oh,
that's one of the
my
things you didn't know
God.
about this one.
And this is you said 42, 29. So this is like
It was
13
18
years later.
She was 18. Yeah. So when he left, Phoebe was 5 or 6. Not Phoebe. Elizabeth was 5 or 6. So yeah, 13 years. He was alive and well and had been living in California. So back in 1930, he drove his car to the pier, ditched it, left his family and the life that he had known, fled to California to start a new life.
Fuck
and
you, dude.
Right? We're going to talk more about him later. In 1942, he decides to send an apology letter, which I don't know. I think people need to apologize and need to get, I don't want to say clear the air. And I think it's important to take that step in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
But I hope Phoebe told him to fuck off.
Yeah, because to me, when you do it through a letter,
times were different back then.
I
as
mean,
well.
oh, you're right. You're
Yeah.
right. But like when he like, and who knows what the letter said? But to me, there's a different ways of apologizing. There's apologizing to someone because you are trying to make yourself feel better, to like ease your own guilt. Like, I feel guilty about everything that went down, so I'm going to apologize because that's going to make me feel better. And then there's an apology that's actually done in order to truly make amends and with the relationship with that person, right? So like, is he truly trying to like make amends for what he did, or is he just egotistically saying I'm sorry so that he can somehow assuage his own guilt in this situation?
Yeah, I think it's the latter.
Yeah. Fucker.
With that said, though, one thing led to another, and Elizabeth actually made the decision to relocate to live with her father in California to be closer to the Hollywood lifestyle that she was desiring.
Mm-hmm.
So Cleo, he was living in Vallejo, California at the time, and whether it was something that Elizabeth also wanted to build a relationship and make amends and have this relationship that she lost out on. Maybe she wanted to see the good in it. Maybe she just wanted a freaking free ride to California at that moment. Either way, she ended up there. So she had not seen her father. I mean, we mentioned this since she was young. She was 18 years old when she went out there. Cleo was working at a naval shipyard. And I think that he expected something completely different than what Elizabeth wanted life-wise. I think he expected her to be around and to help more. And there's like a quote that I heard that he had said, I heard it in a podcast where he says that he expected her to be there and kind of be the housekeeper and one taking care of the house while he was out doing stuff.
Fuck off.
Well,
what
in the
does
way
she owe to you?
Right. Exactly. But the way that this podcaster said it too, they were like, it's like he wanted a housewife out of his daughter. And I was like, ugh, what a freaking ugh.
Well, we've seen how he treats his housewife, so to speak.
Right.
So fuck you.
So with all of that, she definitely did not stay there very long. You know, the tension between the two definitely grew, and after not even a year of staying with her father, she moved out. Without being able to give an exact detailed timeline of her trying to find her place in California during this time, at one point she did end up in Santa Barbara, California, and we know this because she was actually arrested for underage drinking on September 23rd, 1943.
Okay.
After this arrest, the authorities sent her back. So, like, the juvenile authorities sent her back to Massachusetts, which didn't work for Elizabeth. So, again, off to Florida she went. While she was in Florida, she met and fell in love with a decorated Army, it says Army Air Force officer.
Yeah.
Who ended up being deployed for World War II. He left. They didn't have a lot of, like, I want to say in-person time together.
Yeah.
That time period was very short before he deployed. They would write letters back and forth. And Elizabeth said that in one of the letters, Major Matthew Michael Gordon Jr. proposed to her and said that he wanted to marry her when he returned. She accepted. So at this point, she was engaged. But another tragedy took place when Major Gordon died after a plane crash in August of 1945.
She has lived so much life.
Right.
So much life. And she's what, 20?
At this point, yes. Yeah.
Damn.
Isn't that crazy? Maybe like 19.
Yeah.
But you're right that it's like she has done so much, lived so much, more than most people live in their entire life. Yep. The things that she's gone through.
Yeah.
It's so sad to think about, from her father leaving, coming back. He should have just never came back. All of the health issues she dealt with, and then trying to find your place, falling in love, and that person passing away. Oh, all of it.
All of this in the span of like
19 years.
Stock market crashing, Great Depression, like, or did the Great Depression happen then? I think so. And then World War II, all of it, like, damn.
Yep. So just in true Elizabeth fashion, she ends up moving again. And this time it was back to Los Angeles, California, where it was obvious that's where Elizabeth's heart longed to be.
Right.
She seemed to always be wanting to get back to Hollywood for the lifestyle, for the dreams. And that's exactly what she did. So much is unknown about her nomadic lifestyle, hopping around from one place to another, her circle of friends and jobs. But according to sources, she did want to be a star.
Mm-hmm.
She wanted to be on screen. And so she stayed local to LA as she took waitressing jobs and rented rooms wherever she was able to. During this time, just months before her murder, she was a regular at a drugstore in Long Beach, and it was there that she was given the name the Black Dahlia. Other patrons of the store and workers gave her this nickname because of her good looks and striking dark hair. This actually was a play on words from a movie that came out in 1946, The Blue Dahlia.
Mm-hmm.
This name, the Black Dahlia, is what stuck with Elizabeth forever. January of 1947 is when everything changed. The last known sighting of Elizabeth Short was on January 9th, 1947. She had just came back from a San Diego trip with a man named Robert Manley and was seen at the Biltmore Hotel in downtown Los Angeles, where he was dropping her off. And he said that Elizabeth told him that she would be meeting her sister, who was going to be visiting from Boston. Later that evening, patrons of Crown Grill Cocktail Lounge said they saw Elizabeth at the bar. This was never confirmed visually, but people said they definitely saw her there. January 15th, 1947, 6 days after Elizabeth was last seen alive, her body was found. A mother named Betty Bursinger and her young daughter were walking in the early morning and walked upon Elizabeth's body, 7 miles from the Biltmore Hotel where she was last seen. When Betty was walking, she states that she first thought that she was walking up on a mannequin. But once she got closer, the reality changed, and the horrifying sight is one she would live with for the rest of her life. She said she immediately stepped in front of her daughter's stroller to hide what she had come across before turning to go back to a nearby home to call the cops. This is where the trigger warning is necessary. I will be explaining the details about how Elizabeth was found. The pictures and the reports are absolutely heartbreaking. Elizabeth's body was cut in half right where the belly button would be. Her body was placed in the grass in what seemed to be a methodical placement for whatever reason, and that reason is still unknown. Heather is going to read some excerpts from the official coroner's report, then we will talk more about it.
The official cause of death was, quote, hemorrhage and shock due to concussion of the brain and lacerations of the face, end quote. Although the Los Angeles Police Department will not comment on the specifics of the weapon used to sever Elizabeth's body, it is believed the killer used a butcher knife to eventually saw her in two. There are multiple lacerations to the mid-forehead, in the right forehead, and at the top of the head in the midline. There are multiple tiny abrasions and lacerations. The trunk is completely severed by an incision which is almost straight through the abdomen. There are multiple crisscross lacerations in the suprapubic area, which extend through the skin and soft tissue. There are lacerations of the intestine and both kidneys. The uterus is small and no pregnancy is apparent. The tubes, ovaries, and cul-de-sac are intact. Within the vagina and higher up, there is lying loose a piece of skin with fat and subcutaneous tissue attached. On this piece of loose skin, there are several crisscrossing lacerations. Smears from spermatozoa have been taken. The anal opening is markedly dilated, and the opening measures 1 1/4 inch in diameter. There are multiple abrasions. Smear for spermatozoa has been taken. The stomach is filled with greenish-brown granular matter, mostly feces and other particles, which could not be identified. All smears for spermatozoa were negative. It appears as though many of the lacerations, including the dilation of the anal opening, were done after the woman's death. So gruesome.
It is. And that came directly from the coroner's report of Elizabeth's body.
Yeah.
So here's a few more things that I want to add, and not as if that wasn't difficult to read enough. This next part is especially difficult to read and hear. So first, Short's spine had been severed at the waist above the hips in, quote, the only spot where the body can be severed in half without breaking a bone, end quote. It's been stated that her genitals had been mutilated and her anus dilated as though sodomized. Her own carved flesh had been inserted into her vagina and rectum along with pubic hair. Her right breast had been cut off, and she'd been given a Glasgow smile, lips cut from the corners to the ears. Her uterus had also been completely removed. Finally, she'd been washed and cleaned so that there wasn't a drop of blood anywhere. There was no traces of semen.
I can't. I have so many thoughts. So here's the thing. The Black Dahlia case is not new to me, as is the case with most people. I have heard many of these details before, but I think probably like a lot of people, I tend to kind of block those out, like the details of it. Right. And I, in my head, I know Elizabeth Short was brutally mutilated. And I kind of leave it at that. But having now reheard a lot of the details, so many thoughts. One, and obviously this is a good thing because I'm not a fucking psychopath. I just don't understand how a person can do that to another person's body. And I don't understand that at all. And then I just feel for her mom so much, because as a mother, I think, part of getting through the process is understanding what the fuck happened. And so I mean,
and there's no way to understand what the fuck happened.
Yeah, you can't. If you were to read, as a mom, if you were to read that coroner's report, you'd be like, what in the actual fuck? What is going on here? This cannot be real, And so it's just so incredibly difficult to think that, oh my gosh.
Yeah. So one of the things that is very obvious when it comes to this murder is that this was done in another location, mm-hmm. and then she was taken to this spot and placed out in the open. The murder would have had to occur inside and with access to adequate water and drainage, then cleaned up entirely and moved. There was not a single piece of evidence that could help lead to an arrest, a conviction, to finding who was responsible for this completely savage and heinous crime. Elizabeth Short's body was found nude and out in the open for all to see that day, mutilated and lifeless. It's been 77 years since January 15th, 1947, when she was found. I'm fine. I'm going to read this without crying. I'm good. She went to California with a dream to become an actress, to make a name for herself, to see herself upon a screen, to have people talk about her and know her name. And here we are talking about her, but not in the way she dreamt of. Part of me feels guilty. I can't even pretend that I don't. But that's why one of my hopes in talking about Elizabeth Short is to show how much passion and determination to keep going that she had, She was beautiful and driven and loved by so many, and that's what she should always be remembered for. In part 2, I will be talking more about Elizabeth, more about details that came out, people who came forward claiming they were guilty, arrests that were made, multiple theories, and anything else I can add to wrap up the unsolved murder of Elizabeth Short, the Black Dahlia.
I love, Rachel, that you do this, and that whenever we do these and we kind of break them into 2 parts, we spend the first part talking about who she was as a person, because we see it so often, right, that the victims of these horrific things don't get remembered for who they were as a person. They get remembered for who they were in death, and a lot of times their name's not even the one that's remembered. It's the names of their fucking killer. So this is why I love podcasting with you, because I think we, like, on this podcast, we definitely make it a point to remember that these are people and they are all deserving of their own story. And I love that we separate that out, because I mean, you can tell she was a driven young woman.
Right.
And she had lived a lot of fucking life. Sorry, Terry, I know I'm dropping the F-bomb a lot in this episode. But, like, she had lived a lot of life, and she had come through it, and she deserved, obviously, so much more.
Yeah.
And she deserves, to this day, to be remembered also for who she was as a person, and not who she was in death after she was known as the Black Dahlia. Right. So,
yeah.
Thank you for that, Rachel.
You're welcome. And I agree. I'm glad that we can do that here. My heart breaks for her mother, Phoebe, her sisters, Muriel, Elnora, Dorothea, and Virginia May, for all of her friends and all that loved her. A tragedy, and an unsolved one at that. I don't know how this was not solved, as we'll get into a lot of that. I guess part of me does understand and part of me doesn't, because that's the thing about this case, is that's why it is as notorious as it is, I guess. And I'm going to get into that all next episode, but it doesn't change the fact that it still just blows my mind.
Right.
It's freaking sad, man. That is all I have for you guys today. Part 2 is coming soon. Like I said, it will be here in 2 days for Halloween. It will drop on Halloween Day for you guys if you want to listen to part 2. Until then, I hope you guys have a very, very spooky and fun Halloween, but a very safe one.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
And listen to Kadra tomorrow.
Oh, yes. Listen to
Tune in live tomorrow. 8 p.m. Central.
Love it.
And then come back on Thursday on Halloween for part 2.
Part 2.
And like Rachel said, thank you to all our OG listeners. And we've been getting some new listeners. So thank y'all too for checking us out. Tell your friends. Keep it coming.
Tell your moms.
Tell your moms.
All right. We will talk to you guys on Tuesday. No, not next Tuesday. Talk to you on Thursday. Talk to you in 2 days. Until then, okay, love you. Bye.
Okay, love you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.